We need to talk to Labour Shadow Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, who is joining us. A very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
So we've got Keir Starmer giving a big speech today. We were just talking about the fact there about, you know, whether the Labour Party really does stand for change and what that exactly means.
Yeah, absolutely. After 14 years, this is the country's moment to vote for change. We've had chaos and division over the last 14 years with the Conservatives, and what Labour is setting out is a positive vision for how we can improve our country and how we can get our future back, whether that's more teachers in our classrooms, more police on our street to crack down on antisocial behaviour and cutting NHS waiting times. There is a big moment, a big opportunity on the 4th of July for our country to turn a corner.
Are you spooked in any way, shape or form by this announcement on national service? I mean, it does open clear blue water between the two parties, doesn't it?
Look, it's just a pretty desperate gimmick, you know, and it's unravelling day by day. It clearly hasn't been thought through, and there are more questions than answers on all of this. You know, a Shadow Education Secretary, I think a lot of the time, all the time, about how we can deliver a brighter future for our children and young people. And there is so much that we could do to transform our country, to deliver better life chances for our children. But seeking to fill gaps that the Conservatives have opened up, having hollowed out the army over the last 14 years, is just not the way to do it.
All right, well, you say it's not been thought through. Let's have a quick listen to what Rishi Sunak said about this yesterday. Half a minute. Here we go.
Britain today faces a future that is more dangerous and more divided. There's no doubt our democratic values are under threat. That is why we will introduce a bold new model of national service for 18-year-olds. Young people will gain valuable skills, make our country more secure, and build a stronger national culture. Keir Starmer and Labour don't have a clear plan and won't take the bold action to navigate to a more secure future.
I have to say, a lot of our viewers this morning, not all of them, but a lot of our viewers think that's not a bad idea.
Look, they can't even tell us how they're going to pay for this scheme. They've set it out in a big hurry. Questions continue.
Sorry, they have said that they were going to use the this levelling up fund and also from cracking down on tax avoidance. So they have spelt out how they were going to fund it.
Yep.
Well, in which case, how are they going to fund the various schemes that were meant to be funded through levelling up funding? For example, there is money that goes towards adult numeracy, adult life skills. Is that now, presumably that's dead? I mean, it's just, you know, crazy to be announcing something at this point without a clear plan behind it. And, you know, if people want to be confident that the country's borders are secure, that we've got a strong defence and that we can make sure we keep our country safe, then the person to vote for in the general election is Keir Starmer, not Rishi Sunak, who's presided over 14 years of armed forces cuts.
You talk about keeping the country safe. I mean, the Conservatives have pledged to spend 2.5% on defence spending, and you guys won't commit.
We've said that we want to get towards 2.5% as soon as we can. And under the last Labour government, we invested...
Well, that's not a commitment. Anybody can say that. That could be in the next 50 years.
Yeah, the Tories have got no plan to deliver this. And they've had 14 years in government now and they've not done it.
Hang on, they have. No, you can't slide off that point. The Conservatives have guaranteed that they will spend 2.5% on defence spending. They've said that. And you're saying you'll do it when you can. But that's such an open-ended pledge that you can't possibly call that a commitment to defence. It's not. It's not a commitment.
We are committed to 2.5% in terms of defence spending. But what the Conservatives have done over 14 years...
Just a minute, you're not.
We've got the army is at its lowest level for hundreds of years.
With respect, you're not. You've missed off the codicil, which is, yes, we're committed to 2.5% when we can do it. Now, if you add that codicil, you destroy the promise.
We did it when we were in government. The Conservatives, however, haven't. And what they've done over the last 14 years is take our army to its lowest level for hundreds of years. So they can make promises coming into an election campaign, but they've got no way of making it happen. And what we're determined to do, everything that we're setting out has to be with the bedrock of economic stability. Your viewers have seen what happens, you know, what happened under Liz Truss when there were crazy unfunded commitments. So your viewers are paying more every month on their mortgage because of the reckless and cavalier approach the Conservatives took on the economy. We will be credible and responsible. Absolutely, we want to get to 2.5%, but we have to do that properly and in a managed way. And there is no plan from the Conservatives to do it. And their record, I think, in terms of armed forces cuts speaks volumes.
OK, let's turn to some of the policies that you have put forward. The adding VAT to private school fees. There's a lot of concern about how this is going to impact the education system. Have you carried out a full impact assessment of this? Because there are real fears about the number of pupils that are already being pulled out of private schools that will go into the state system, what that is going to cost the state system to educate them, and also the fact that there just won't be the places. A lot of these schools are already oversubscribed.
So the Independent Institute for Fiscal Studies carried out a big piece of research, a big piece of work into the impact of this policy. What they concluded was that by putting VAT on private school fees, we could raise £1.3 to £1.5 billion net that we could then invest into state education. So what we would use that money for would be 6,500 more teachers, more mental health support in our schools, careers guidance, work experience for our young people. That has to be the priority for an incoming government, because your viewers will know when the vast majority of your viewers will send their children to state schools, and they will know just how much pressure our state schools are under at the moment. How in so many cases we don't have the teachers that we need. And this is a straightforward question of priorities about making sure we're delivering for the 93% of children within our state schools.
Sorry to interrupt, but we have a limited amount of time, obviously. But, you know, already a lot of those parents are finding that they can't get their children into the schools that they would really like to because the places aren't there. What is it based on? How many children do you think will be leaving private schools to go to state schools? Because some estimates have said that this could be 20%. You know, we could see thousands of children coming from private schools going into state schools, and the system just won't be able to cope.
But we've seen lots of estimates thrown around from the private schools lobby who are determined to resist this. But I am equally determined to invest in a brilliant state education for all of our children and give them a brighter future.
What's your estimate based on what percentage of children do you think, because of this, will move from private schools to state schools?
What the Institute for Fiscal Studies concluded was that they anticipated limited impact, mainly because, as they pointed out, private schools have whacked up their fees way beyond inflation year after year, and it hasn't affected the numbers. And actually in our state schools, and as just one very final point, if I may, in our state schools, we're actually seeing fewer young people coming through the state system at the moment because of the falling birth rate. So actually we're going to be in the position in the years to come where state schools are going to have to shrink.
Well,
so I just don't
with immigration,
though,
with immigration that doesn't count. But I'm just interested to know the figure that you are working on.
She doesn't have one.
Percentage-wise.
You don't have one, do you?
What percentage of children do you think will be moving from private schools to state schools because of this policy?
She doesn't have one.
I think there will be a negligible impact, and that was what the Institute for Fiscal Studies, who are independent and well-respected, also concluded.
10%.
They said overall, even if you take account of any change within the system, their conclusion was that the policy would raise, taking account of everything, it would raise 1.3 to 1.5 billion pounds. That is a considerable sum of money, and we'll deliver 6,500 expert teachers in maths, in science, filling those gaps where at the moment lots of children are having to have non-specialists delivering that education.
All right, we're going to have to be satisfied with your repeat answer of negligible. You won't put a figure on it. One more question to do with numbers. 6,500 extra teachers you want to employ. Where are you going to find them?
What we'll do is we will make teaching once more the go-to place for graduates. We've got to tackle issues around workload. We've got to make teaching a better place to be and not constantly deride teachers and education as the way the government has. We need to value and respect our teachers, and we'll have a really big push if we win that election to get more brilliant people into our classrooms, and we'll keep more people there by tackling the big challenges that we see at the moment around retention. So taking away some of the problems that our schools are having to deal with. So putting in place more mental health support, delivering universal free breakfast clubs in every primary school. It's those wider pressures that schools are facing at the moment that is pushing people out.
All right, Bridget Phillipson, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Thoughts, gentlemen?
She's right. The Institute of Fiscal Studies said there's likely to be hardly any private kids pushed out because of this.
Well,
why focus on that, and why not the help for the 93%? There is a very strong lobby around that 7%. A lot of it is in the media because people are privately educated or send their own kids to private schools, so that's what they obsess about, rather than thinking that 93% of kids who go to state schools and need all the extra teachers. I think the debate has been looked at in completely the wrong way. We can shake our charity tin for the rich as much as we like, but how can you say go to Eton is a charitable experience? Charity is for somebody else, not for yourself.
But if we just look
you
at
send
the
a kid
impact,
to private school, you're doing it for yourself. No, we're doing this debate completely the wrong way round.
The impact of this policy when they can't come up with a number,
I'm telling you, that 20% was from a lobby group, private schools lobby group, which also called her, Bridget Phillipson, Chippy. Well, if you want Chippy, she'll fight for everybody else's kids. The Institute for Fiscal Studies pointed out fees have risen far more than inflation, and the numbers have been going up in private schools. So why focus on this 20%?
Okay, so do you think we should be worried about this?
No, and I'm totally with him that in the end, most people don't send their kids to private schools. I went to a state school myself. But you cannot think of in any other walk of life where you put the price up 20% and it does not reduce demand. It's basic economics. So if you whack up the price 20%, then some people are not going to be able to afford it. Where do they go? They go to the local state school if they can get in there. What does that mean? The classes that are already big are going to get bigger and you need more teachers.
And
she has no
She
has no impact of that.
And that education has to be paid for.
And I know you don't want to discuss about it.
20%. No. I'll tell you why. 20% fees going, it will not see 20% of kids not going.
What about the...
do you know what the price elasticity of fees
Well, we don't know, though, actually.
Very low, if it's at all.
How do you know?
Because
you think everybody who goes to private school goes to Eton. There are all kinds of schools all over the UK.
After study showing the rise in fees and numbers have been going up.
But the thing is, Kevin, the people it will impact, though, are those people, the families that scrimp and save to try to send their children there. And they're the ones, because of the cost of living crisis at the moment, that will just look at it and think, well, we can't do that for our child.
And they're the ones all the other people trying to avoid paying 20% VAT will hide behind. Well, you can, if you really care about them, you'll give them scholarships and you'll help them and you'll get them into private schools if you really care. But come on, private schools are not charities. They are not charities at all. They are all about buying privilege in a leg up now. That's fine, but you pay your VAT on it.
No time to analyse the non-commitment to the 2.5% on defence spending. I mean, that doesn't sound like a commitment.
Hang on, the government only came up with this about, was it a month ago?
But they have come up with it.
Yeah, they came up with it a month ago. Why did they do that? Because it's an election.
Sorry, I was in number 10 2 years ago, and Ben Wallace was arguing for that and actually driving for that.
And
we were
Rishi
coming
Sunak
out,
didn't back it when he was Prime Minister.
We were coming out of a global pandemic where we spent 400 billion paying people to be safe at home.
It was 2.5% under the last Labour government. 14 years of the Tories, they've not hit it.
So that you can invade Iraq in an immorally...
You can carry it on in the green room, but yeah, we will need to leave it there for now. Thank you both very much.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. See you tomorrow.